Food Safety Freakishness, the weird and wonderful world of food safety and food fraud. This week's food safety news includes some weird incidents, including a death from anthrax in food, a recall of sausages that were so badly overdosed with sodium nitrite that consumers complained of off odours and colours, and a snake-contaminated school lunch, which is being treated as a human rights issue after 100 students fell ill. There's also a weird story in this week's food fraud news about a delicacy that's only eaten in Vietnam and which can only be obtained from the intestines of pigs with a rare disease that affects only lean, elderly female pigs. Because of its high price and a sudden increase in its popularity, fraudsters are allegedly making fake versions of it with chemically treated, glue-injected, hand-twisted ordinary pig intestines. Authorities are investigating. All that weirdness got me thinking about the other strange tales I've shared with you over the past 3 years of the rotten apple. Here are some of my favourites. Industrial chemicals served as milk. In Alaska, students were accidentally served floor sealant instead of milk after containers of construction chemicals were added to a shipment of packages of shelf-stable milk. 12 students and 2 adults drank the sealant after it was served by canteen staff. They were sickened but recovered. Human AIDS medication used as growth promoters for farm animals. In 2022, I shared the mind-boggling story of how some farmers in sub-Saharan Africa were feeding human AIDS medicines to their pigs and chickens. The medicines are cheap to obtain through government medical programs and help animals to grow faster and larger, as well as protecting them from diseases like African swine fever and Newcastle disease. Residues of human antiviral medicines have been found in pork and chicken meat and in commercial animal feeds in Uganda in at least 2 separate peer-reviewed studies. In one study, almost 1/3 of pork samples were affected. Tick-borne brain virus spread by food. A virus that causes encephalitis, which is inflammation of the brain, and that is usually only transmitted by tick bites, caused a foodborne illness outbreak that sickened 43 people in France in 2020. Investigators found that the virus had been transferred to goats by ticks while they were grazing outdoors. The viral particles were secreted in goat's milk that was used to make unpasteurized goat's cheese, and this raw cheese was the source of the outbreak. Baby rats in chickpeas. A UK food manufacturer hand sorts chickpeas 24/7 to prevent buoyant, pale-coloured baby rats from ending up in products. Because optical sorting can't reliably detect them due to colour variability, and because they float like chickpeas. Offenders film themselves in food tampering incidents and are caught by police. In January 2025, a man pleaded guilty after police found videos on his phone showing him ejaculating onto and touching food with his penis. The foods included strawberries, donuts, cupcakes, and pastry frosting, some of which had been ordered for a child's birthday party. In a separate incident, another man posted footage online of himself in a Walmart store spraying insecticide on foods, including fresh produce and rotisserie chickens. He admitted to the crimes when contacted by police. Bizarre toxic growth hack for bean sprouts. In 2024, authorities in Vietnam discovered more than 20 tons of bean sprouts, likely mung bean sprouts, soaked in 6-benzylamino-purine during an inspection of 6 production facilities where industrial quantities of bean sprouts are produced at a rate of more than 8 tons per day. The chemical is not allowed to be used in food processing and poses risks to fetuses, including low birth weight, hydrocephalus, and congenital malformations. It's used illegally to speed growth, reduce root size, and improve the appearance of bean sprouts. Syrup water containing the chemical was also seized. One trader told authorities that the whole bean sprout market is not clean, implying that all bean sprout producers in that region use the substance. Rats running across the crust of old juice concentrate in hidden vats. A fruit juice company and its owner pleaded guilty to food fraud-related offences and admitted to selling grape juice concentrate, which was a blend containing new and old concentrate from past year's production, to customers as if it was new product. The old concentrate had been stored in large concrete vats that were not properly covered or cooled. The vats had initially been hidden from FDA inspectors. FDA inspectors photographed a live rat in a vat walking over the top of a crust on the juice concentrate. The concentrate contained the remains of decaying animals, feces from birds and rodents, insects, mold, and yeast. The company sold the grape juice concentrate blends to customers who provided grape juice for a school lunch program in the United States. Secret factory making fake sugar. Authorities discovered a clandestine manufacturing operation in Côte d'Ivoire in 2024 that was making fake sugar. The product was crystalline with a fine powder form and a reddish colour and was being sold in 1 kilogram bags labelled sugar. It's alleged to have been made with milk powder, pellets, and a reddish dye. Fake garlic made from cement. After the price of garlic surged in India in 2024, consumers took to social media to report they'd been duped into buying fake garlic made from cement. Weird food recall. Betel nuts in mouth freshener. Betel nuts, chewed in parts of Asia and the Pacific for their mild stimulant effects and perceived benefits of increased alertness and appetite suppression, are hard, oval-shaped seeds from the areca palm with an astringent, woody taste. Mouth freshener was recalled in Denmark in 2024 because it contained betel nuts, which is a non-authorised novel food in Europe. Unusual food safety incident, gastrointestinal anthrax. In early May 2025, there was an anthrax scare in Thailand after a 53-year-old man died from gastrointestinal anthrax, with 3 additional suspected cases in the same region. At least 638 people were potentially exposed to anthrax after butchering livestock and eating raw or undercooked beef. Authorities set up a 5-kilometre quarantine zone around the infection site, commenced a cattle vaccination program, and gave antibiotics to all people who may have been in contact with the infected meat. Gastrointestinal anthrax develops when a person eats undercooked or raw meat from an animal infected with Bacillus anthracis spores. Once ingested, the spores germinate in the gastrointestinal tract, growing and releasing potent toxins which cause the intestines to ulcerate and bleed. This can lead to severe nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain, bloody diarrhea, and, if untreated, rapid progression to septicemia and death. Gastrointestinal anthrax is uncommon in industrialised countries. Outbreaks typically occur in regions where livestock vaccination is lacking and the disease is not transmitted person to person. Stealthy food bacteria linked to Alzheimer's disease. The bacteria Helicobacter pylori, which causes stomach ulcers, has been found in foods and can survive well in low-acid, high-moisture foods stored at refrigerated temperatures. Unhygienic handling food environments and areas with poor sanitation are linked to populations with a higher prevalence of Helicobacter pylori infections. In 2018, researchers writing in the World Journal of Gastroenterology proposed that it should be considered a foodborne pathogen. In 2023, Helicobacter pylori was the subject of an extensive study which examined its role in the presence of the neurodegenerative disorder Alzheimer's disease. In a large case-controlled study which drew on data from more than 4 million people and followed observational studies linking Helicobacter pylori infections with Alzheimer's, people with symptomatic Helicobacter pylori infection were shown to be 11% more likely to develop Alzheimer's disease than matched control groups. Foodborne pathogens and Alzheimer's? Now that's unexpected. Cooks dose 1,600 servings of restaurant food with hidden antibiotics. In 2024, 2 Chinese men were given suspended prison sentences for adding undeclared antibiotics to food they were preparing in a restaurant. They told the court they put the drugs into the food because it was rather unhygienic. That is, the food was rather unhygienic, and they wanted to prevent diners from getting diarrhea. Each dish of cold appetizers was dosed with 2 milliliters of gentamicin sulfate, an antibiotic which was a common treatment for diarrhea in China in past decades. The 2 men admitted to treating more than 1,600 dishes in this way, starting in 2023. The men were also fined, banned from working in the food industry for life, and ordered to make a public apology, while the restaurant where they worked was also fined and had its business license revoked. The crimes were discovered after a tip-off by another employee. Officials found 101 unused boxes and 4 empty boxes of gentamicin sulfate in the restaurant when they arrived to investigate the tip-off. Hot, deadly hot tortilla chips. In 2023, European countries suspended sales of tortilla chips with extreme spiciness, saying the high levels of capsaicinoids in the chips posed a danger to human health. This followed the death of a child in the United States who had eaten a single extra spicy tortilla chip, despite the chips being clearly labelled as being suitable only for adults. Adverse reactions to consuming foods high in capsaicinoids include nausea, vomiting, high blood pressure, burning eyes, and irritation of mucous membranes. In short, the natural world still holds countless mysteries when it comes to foodborne illnesses. Do stealthy ulcer-causing bacteria have a way to damage our memories? Who would expect that a virus which attacks human brains could make its way from the forest to our bloodstream via goat's milk cheese? But perhaps the weirdest stories come from people doing strange things with food, from the people who invented mouth freshener containing narcotic nuts to the cooks who were so worried about the unhygienic food they were serving they decided to add antibiotics to protect their customers. It's the humans who are the real stars of this strange story. And there are links to find the sources for all of the stories I just shared in the email and the post. There's a link in the YouTube description and in the podcast show notes that will take you there. And if you love what you're hearing, please do tell your friends and colleagues about the Rotten Apple and help us to grow our global food safety community.